How many of you think that growth means adding more skills, more certifications, more degrees, more responsibilities? But real acceleration doesn't just come from addition, it comes from alignment. And when your strengths reinforce each other, your value multiplies without increasing effort. And so strength stacking isn't about doing more, it's about doing what works together on purpose. So let's talk about how to stop spreading yourself thin and start compounding your impact. Let's talk about it right after this.
Educate, empower, enable, impact. Thank you for tuning in to That Will Never Work, an award-winning podcast where we share inspiring information and personal experiences related to business and the entrepreneurial journey from those who are leaders in their respective field. Now, here's your host, author and business coach, Maurice.
Now, which of your strengths work best together? But what have you been using separately? See, standalone growths or standalone strengths create limited impact. Individual strengths are useful, but isolated, they can cap your potential. And when strengths are intentionally paired with, let's say, communication, with leadership or creativity, with strategy, maybe even experience with execution, your contribution becomes harder to replace. And how many of you out there can say that if you were effective in communication, they really felt as though that you were a great leader because you were able to effectively communicate the processes, whether you were effectively, in communication with helping someone over any challenges or hurdles. And so with that communication, people are able to see and experience your leadership quality, skills in that. And so now you're harder to replace. People have to think 2, 3, 4 times whether or not it is in their best interest to move on from you. And understand that stacked strengths can create differentiation. See, anyone can be competent in their strengths, but a lot of us, there's quite a few of us that are distinctive, that really stand out. And strength stacking creates a unique professional profile that separates you from your peers without comparison or competition. See, a lot of us sometimes will say, hey, there's no competition, I am who I am, and things like that. But what are your real strengths? How do you show that there is no comparison or competition? Except for maybe the one that's inside of you. Some people might say that. My only competition is myself. Well, are you understanding what side of you you're competing with? Are you stacking what your strengths are to make one complete person? And how do you really take that and separate yourself from your peers? Because you can stand out without having to be compared. And so in that, are you really aligned when you understand what your strengths really are and you're stacking them in a real unique way? And understand that alignment reduces the effort and it also increases your confidence. So I want you to think about this like, when your strengths align, work can feel more natural and your results can now improve faster and more efficient. And confidence increases not because you're trying harder, but because you're operating in alignment with how you're wired. Some of us, we don't understand how we're wired. A lot of times our wires are crossed, right? And we see where the friction is. We hear the static. We hear things popping, or whatever it is. And now all of a sudden, we don't really know why we're having these challenges. That's because we're not necessarily aligned. We're crossing paths. We're crossing our wires. And for myself, I have not always understood trying to work in my progress, or I'm sorry, my strengths all at once. Because I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know how it felt. So yes, I can be creative, but there has to be a strategy. So if you're in advertising, marketing, you understand that, hey, you could be creative, but there is a boundary. What is the I just took the class. I can't think of the word now. But what is the brief that you have to go by in order for you to understand what is the objective and then be creative within that boundary? You can do it. There is one out there. So understand that, and then understand that this brief, your efforts are no longer scattered, which now can, because if they're scattered, they can lead to burnout. And your strength stacking allows you and other professionals to focus the energy where it produces the greatest return. So this episode, it matters because clarity about how strengths work together creates your momentum without feeling and being overwhelmed. I've been there. I have struggled with that. I have not always understood how and why I was having challenges in moving. I don't care if it was my business or I don't care if it was my career forward, because I was not always aligned and I was looking at some of the wrong things. And now I'm struggling. I can't move things forward. And so you don't need more skills, because that's one of the things that I thought. I needed to be certified in all these different places and spaces. I did. I was certified in Microsoft Access. I thought I needed that skill. Where's Microsoft Access today? And that's not, and some of that is just not understanding the tea leaves and what things look like and feel like moving forward. And so if you understand that you may not need more skills, you just need better alignment with what is in your trajectory. And when your strengths work together, progress accelerates more naturally. And so I would like for you to understand that when you are aligned and reading the tea leaves, it's going to happen. So, I would like for you to identify two strengths that you have been using separately and ask how they could reinforce each other. I had a skill. I had a skill to learn software very well, and brought it out as as something that I thought people could use, whatever it is. But did I really use a strategy on how to implement that in my process for me to move forward? So I was creative. I was working hard, but I didn't have a strategy. I thank you very much for listening today.
Thanks for listening. Follow Maurice Chisholm on social media to stay connected and check back weekly for new episodes. Until next time, that will never work. Or will it?